Back in the 1980s, he wasn't just a stuntman. He was the man who took the falls so others could be the hero. The Fall Guy gave us action, charm, and a kind of fearless energy that felt larger than life. But decades later, those daring leaps have given way to very different journeys. Which character stayed with you the most? Lee Majors stepped into The Fall Guy as Colt Seavers at around 41 years old, already carrying the weight of television history on his shoulders. Audiences knew him as the near-invincible Steve Austin from The $6 Million Man, but Colt was different. He was charming, self-aware, and human. A stuntman who took the hits so others could shine. That balance of toughness and humor made him instantly unforgettable. At the height of the show, Majors represented a kind of rugged masculinity that defined an era. He wasn't just acting the part. He understood the world of stunts, the risk, the discipline, the quiet professionalism behind the spectacle. And that authenticity gave Colt Seavers something rare: credibility that audiences could feel. Now in his mid-80s in 2026, Lee Majors stands as one of the last living symbols of that golden age of television action. His career didn't fade when trends changed. It evolved. He continued appearing in films and television, often embracing roles that nodded to his legacy while allowing him to age naturally on screen. There was no desperate attempt to chase youth, only a quiet confidence in what he had already built. His personal life, once marked by high-profile relationships, eventually found a steadier rhythm. Over time, he stepped into a more grounded chapter, away from the constant spotlight, focusing on family and a more private sense of fulfillment. It's a transition that mirrors many of his generation, from public figure to reflective elder. What makes Majors' story resonate today isn't just longevity, it's perspective. The man who once made a living falling from buildings and crashing cars now represents something deeper: endurance. Not just physical, but emotional and professional. He didn't need to reinvent himself dramatically. Instead, he allowed time to reshape his image, turning action into legacy. And in many ways, that's what Colt Seavers became too. Not just a character, but a memory of a time when heroes weren't invincible. They just got back up. But if Lee Majors embodied strength and experience, the next star brought something entirely different to the screen. A presence that captured both attention and complexity in a way few could ignore. Heather Thomas was just 24 years old when she first appeared as Jodie Banks, and from the moment she stepped on screen, she became impossible to overlook. Jodie wasn't just there to support the action, she was part of it. Smart, capable, and confident, she helped redefine what a female role in an action series could be at the time. But with that visibility came an intense level of attention. Thomas quickly became one of the most recognizable faces of early 1980s television, and the public fascination with her went far beyond the character she played. It was the kind of spotlight that could elevate a career, but also quietly reshape a life. Now in her late 60s in 2026, her journey tells a very different story than many might expect. Rather than chasing continuous on-screen fame, Heather Thomas made a conscious decision to step away from acting while still at the height of recognition. It wasn't a disappearance, it was a pivot. She turned toward writing, building a new identity as an author, and gradually shifted her focus toward advocacy and personal causes. Away from the cameras, she found space to define herself on her own terms, rather than through the expectations placed on her during her early career. Her personal life also reflects that sense of grounding. Over the years, she built a stable family life, choosing consistency over chaos, privacy over publicity. It's a path that contrasts sharply with the image many fans still hold of her, frozen in time as the bold, glamorous Jodie Banks. What makes her story compelling isn't what happened to her, it's what she chose. At a moment when many might have held on tighter to fame, she let go, and in doing so, found something more lasting. And just when it feels like you understand the rhythm of these journeys, the next story takes a turn that few saw coming. Douglas Barr was around 32 years old when he brought Howie Munson to life, and from the very beginning, he became the emotional counterbalance to Colt Seavers. Where Colt was fearless and experienced, Howie was eager, sometimes clumsy, but always loyal. He wasn't just comic relief, he was the heart of the show, the character who made the danger feel human and the victories feel shared. Audiences connected with Howie because he felt real. He wasn't the strongest or the bravest, but he showed up, learned, and grew. That journey, quietly unfolding in the background of all the action, gave the series a warmth that went beyond explosions and stunts. Now in his mid-70s in 2026, Douglas Barr's path took a direction that many viewers never saw coming. Instead of staying in front of the camera, he gradually stepped behind it. Acting gave way to directing, and in that transition, he found a new kind of creative control. He worked on television films and series, building a steady career not through visibility, but through craft. There's something fitting about that shift. The man who once played the student became the one guiding others. And while his face may not appear on screen as often, his influence continued in quieter, less visible ways, shaping stories rather than starring in them. Unlike many Hollywood narratives filled with dramatic rises and falls, Barr's story is defined by stability. It's a reminder that success doesn't always have to be loud to be meaningful. Sometimes it's found in consistency, in choosing a path that evolves with time rather than fighting against it. And just as Howie Munson stood beside Colt, steady and dependable, Douglas Barr built a life that reflects that same grounded energy, not chasing the spotlight, but never losing purpose. But as the series evolved, it introduced a new presence that brought a different kind of strength, one that would leave a lasting impression both on screen and far beyond it. Markie Post joined the Fall Guy in her early 30s as Terry Michaels, a character who immediately shifted the dynamic of the show. Terry wasn't just another addition. She was sharp, confident, and fully capable of holding her own in a world dominated by stuntmen and risk. She brought intelligence and authority, but also a natural warmth that made her instantly likable. For many viewers, her arrival marked a new chapter. She wasn't defined by the chaos around her. She managed it. And in doing so, she became one of those rare characters who felt both strong and approachable at the same time. After The Fall Guy, Markie Post's career continued to flourish, most notably with her role on Night Court, where she reached an even wider audience. Her presence on screen remained consistent for years, built not on spectacle, but on personality, a quality that made her feel familiar, almost like someone viewers had known for a long time. She continued acting across television and film, maintaining a steady career that reflected both talent and professionalism. But beyond the roles, what many people remember most is the way she carried herself. Gracious, grounded, and quietly charismatic. Markie Post passed away in 2021 at the age of 70, following a publicly known battle with cancer that she faced with remarkable strength and dignity. It was not a story defined by tragedy, but by resilience. A woman continuing to work, to create, and to live fully, even in the face of serious illness. Her legacy isn't just in the characters she played, but in the feeling she left behind. There was a kindness to her presence, something genuine that audiences could sense without it ever being spoken. Today, when fans look back at The Fall Guy, Terry Michaels stands as more than a character. She represents a moment when television began to shift, when strength could be expressed not just through action, but through intelligence, composure, and heart. And as we move forward, there's still one story that brings a different kind of perspective, one that connects this show to an even larger television legacy. Before we move on, there's one story in this cast that rarely gets talked about. A quieter journey that didn't follow the spotlight, but took a turn few expected. And in many ways, it might be the most revealing of them all. Stay with me, because this next chapter connects the show to something much bigger. Ann Pflug stepped into The Fall Guy in her early 40s as Samantha Big Jack Jack, bringing with her a presence that felt immediately grounded and authoritative. Before the stunts, before the chaos, she was the one holding things together. A character defined not by action, but by control, intelligence, and quiet command. In a world full of risk, she represented stability. By the time she joined the series, Pflug was already an established actress. Audiences recognized her from earlier television and film roles, where she often played confident, capable women who didn't need to demand attention to earn it. That same energy carried into The Fall Guy, giving the show a different kind of balance during its early run. Now in her mid-80s in 2026, Ann Pflug's journey reflects a path that gradually moved away from the spotlight rather than clinging to it. After years of steady work in television, she began to step back, choosing fewer roles and eventually shifting her focus beyond acting. It wasn't a sudden disappearance, but a quiet transition, the kind that happens when someone feels they've already said what they needed to say on screen. There's something quietly powerful about that kind of exit. No dramatic farewell, no final headline, just a steady fading into a more private life. It mirrors the kind of character she often played, composed, self-assured, and never driven by the need for constant attention. Her legacy within The Fall Guy may not be as widely discussed as others, but it serves an important purpose. She helped shape the tone in those early moments, grounding the story before it fully leaned into its action identity. And in doing so, she left behind a reminder that not every impact has to be loud to be lasting. But just as Ann Pflug's story reflects quiet departure, the next figure connects The Fall Guy to something far larger, a television legacy that stretches across decades. Richard Anderson was already a familiar face to audiences long before his appearance connected him to the world of The Fall Guy. In his mid-50s at the time, he carried with him the weight of television history, most famously as Oscar Goldman from The $6 Million Man and The Bionic Woman. His presence wasn't just a guest appearance. It was a bridge between iconic series, a subtle reminder of how interconnected that era of television truly was. Anderson had a career that spanned generations. From classic films to long-running television roles, he became one of those actors whose face audiences recognized instantly, even if they couldn't always place where they had seen him. That familiarity became his strength, a steady, reliable presence in an industry constantly chasing something new. He passed away in 2017 at the age of 91, leaving behind a body of work that few could match in both range and longevity. But what makes his story resonate isn't just the number of roles he played. It's the consistency with which he approached them. There was never a sense of chasing fame, only a commitment to the craft itself. Through his connection to The Fall Guy, Anderson's legacy takes on an added layer. He represents a time when television wasn't just about individual shows, but about shared worlds, recurring faces, and a sense of continuity that kept audiences coming back year after year. Looking back now, his career feels less like a series of performances and more like a thread woven through decades of storytelling. And in that way, he reminds us that while shows may come and go, The people who shape them often leave a far more lasting impression than we realize. Looking back at the Fall Guy, it's easy to remember the explosions, the car chases, the impossible jumps. But behind every stunt was something far more fragile. Real people, real bodies, real lives moving forward long after the cameras stopped rolling. What once looked fearless on screen was, in truth, built on discipline, risk, and a quiet understanding that nothing lasts forever. Hollywood has changed. The raw, practical stunts of the 1980s have slowly given way to digital spectacle. And with that shift, something human feels like it's been left behind. The faces we grew up watching didn't just disappear. They aged, adapted, stepped away, or in some cases, left us entirely. And yet, their impact didn't fade with time. Because the truth is, heroes don't stay frozen in their prime. They grow older, just like we do. But what they gave us, the excitement, the memories, the feeling of believing in something larger than ourselves, that stays. So now I want to ask you, when you think about the Fall Guy, who do you remember first? Was it Colt, Jody, Howie, or someone else who left a lasting impression? And if these stories brought back something meaningful for you, take a moment to subscribe. There are so many more journeys like this. Stories of the people who shaped our past and what time quietly revealed about their lives after the spotlight moved on.